Now then. Now, if you're even halfway interested in the sort of nerdy tripe that I ramble on about all the time, then I'm going to assume that you're all more than familiar with the legendary deleted scenes from Empire Strikes Back, specifically the Bespin After Dark section, where Lando Calrissian and Lobot's Bezibot Billy Big Bolts spend a good 10 minutes setting about each other with a oddly sensual plethora of wacky weaponry in what is now commonly accepted to be a Slinky-sponsored space-age homage to Ken Russell's infamous naked wrestling scene in Women in Love, where Ollie Reed and a greased-up Alan Bates go hell for leather in front of a roaring fire. You remember that bit in Empire Strikes Back deleted scenes where they do that, don't you? Don't ya? And to be honest, knowing what Lucas is said to be like regarding copyright infringement and whatnot, I'm genuinely flabbergasted that Big George didn't proper kick off when he clocked this. Maybe old MacDonald Disney talked him out of it, for fear of a counter-birthday suit from Ken Russell and co. Don't really know, don't really care if I'm honest. It's a fair belter, is this so? Certainly until novelty begins to wear off. Definitely a giggle for young kids any road, unless you're disappointingly unworthy and sickeningly entitled progeny are sadly cynical beyond the tender years. In which case, whether they dig on arms or not is probably at least your problems, isn't it, mate? At the very least, I guess you can take them to task on this and give them what's for, in such a one-sided fashion that should soon hopefully make you feel much, much better. At least temporarily. And give you transitional respite as a failed parent. Though there's a strong chance that your overzealous celebrations may be misconstrued by any objective onlookers, I guess. Take it from one who knows. Now, unlike a fair chunk of my young peers, as a kid growing up in the 70s, I never dug on Action Man, really. Not one bit, to be honest. And it weren't scale of it or out. As my grandma once landed a prize bingo Blackpool jackpot, and as she flatly refused to drag a garish concrete water feature all the way back home on coach, she got a substitute voucher for a random bag of toys, which I got myself a few Boss Mego Planet of the Apes stuff out of, when a bingo bounty would have it up. So it weren't the scale, I said. And I'd always assumed it to be a kind of innate moralistic aversion to all things war-related, as my older sister were a big Edwin Starr fan when I was growing up. However, one day I'm sat watching snooker with my granddad, and suddenly, all of a sudden, they interrupt it with live footage of the SAS storming the Iranian embassy in London, which had quite a profound effect on me, I've got to say, and my malleable young mind, and it soon had me watching Who Dares Wins repeatedly on Starview, nipping down to Ben's Toys and Sports and shelling out for some SAS action figures like these. But I've got to say, instead of just playing like Army with him or whatever, I just kind of amalgamated them into my existing Star Wars figures and made a boss little universal peacekeeping firm that saw the likes of Gary Gasmask and Nia Numia and whoever else might be knocking about. Proper have it with some big bully baddies. Real dues. I never played first Action Force game on Specky, to be honest, because all my mates reckoned it were bobbins. But I got this second one for next to note in a job lot on Burnley Flea Market. And at time, found it to be much better than most licensed kids stuff has a right to be, really, and a decent little game in its own right. Track it down and give it a do, man. It's not a humongous deal to it, really, but you'll not just play it once, I'll tell you that. Now this is one of them absolutely zen as Trumpton stack 'em up efforts where the relaxing nature of the P-easy initial quote challenges unquote imparts a universal feeling of abject calmness and symbiotic unity that snugly envelops one's mind, body and soul as you absolutely breeze through the early stages, developing a patient tolerance for things like pretentious piles of balanced pebbles that might otherwise get on your nerves. But as the levels get ever more difficult, desperation takes hold, as your aforementioned calmness goes right out at window, and you get to fuming about how the entire rigmarole is soundtracked by the kind of homogenous sort of asinine claptrap put together by 7th rate Air and 07 wannabes. The kind of honey-infused guff that clogs up these £3 best trip-hop in the world ever, or whatever CD compilations that lie ubiquitously in wait throughout the barely considered Father's Day section down your local so-called supermarket. Until that irrefutable realisation kicks in, no, it's a winner, is this? And there's a couple of tasty little multiplayer modes that should see the sort of set-twos that keep you coming back for more and more and more and more. Chastising your opposition and your teammates, come to that, because of how they've clearly not been blessed with a kind of innate boss balance that the legendary likes of Philippe Petit, Daniela Silvas and me have. For the rest of you though, still a good time, and don't get too frustrated at your comparatively paltry attempts at scaling the lofty heights of the tremendous trio I've just mentioned. Don't try and be us folks, just be the best you that you can be. But in the meantime, balance this. Yeah, so this is one of them that I come back to now and then, without really understanding why, if I'm honest. Not really much in way of fun or originality, and it's not particularly nice to look at. I mean, it's serviceable, like, but yeah, I kind of feel like I'm just fishing for a quote inclusion on advert when it gets a re-release along with everything else here, but I'm not. Thing is, I do come back to it, so it must be gameplay, I guess, which is what it's all about ultimately, isn't it? I don't know, man, maybe I'm not doing it justice or something. Just give it a do and judge for yourself, eh? Stop expecting me to like wet nurse you all the time. It's tricky, but not impossibly so. Even though my footage here is admittedly from early levels, you know, I'm just fair bobbins on it, to be honest. No need to get funny about it, is there really? It's one of them where your little craft or whatever will get smashed to smithereens every few minutes, at least to begin with, but you'll never feel like it's not your fault. It is your fault. So, just face up to it. Stop looking to blame everyone else for your own misgivings, you deluded, entitled chump. You'll end up thanking me at long run and stand an half-decent chance of getting your act together and sorting your life out. And more pertinently, you might just get to end at first level on this beggar. And who knows where that might take you. Certainly level 2 for starters. Which, and I don't know why, it goes down this route for some unpleasant reason, but stick with it for 5 minutes and you'll soon be back on familiar ground, getting smashed to smithereens as per, just like you deserve. Yeah. And then you'll be back again, having another do. Though like I say, I can't really say why. You just will. It's like, why do you still bother buying cheapo corn snacks when you now possess the seemingly bottomless pockets of a humble, mild-mannered internet mega-celebrity whose star is clearly in the ascendance? You just do. That's why. So that's what O'Reilly is, really, when it boils right down to it. It's the unfathomably Moorish cheapo corn snack of the overhead 8-way shooter world. Now, if that's not a quote for your advertisement, I genuinely don't know what is.